Hey, Steve Zonardo here with Remax Experts, Zonardo Associates. Happy Monday morning. Hope you're all doing well. Um, I'm so glad that we're doing different numbers now. We're actually adding more layers to what we're currently doing because obviously things are a little bit obviously different than what we're used to. So we usually did amount of units on the market, and then we just gave you the sold. So a basic report. Now we added like another three layers to it. So we're doing current inventory, which is the overall inventory in the GTA. We're going to do a new, basically, contract sign. That's number two. Number three is terminated. How many terminated listings in the last 7 days? Number four would be how many expired listings in the last 7 days. And then what happens is we're doing the solds clearly. So it's five layers rather than the two, and it kind of gives us a better picture. And I want to the numbers are going to freak you right out, which is cool. Just remember, before we read these numbers, let's do a few recap. Like, remember, this year here we had a height of almost 21,000 units at the height. I forgot when that was, September, October-ish, let's just say. And then, kind of hovered around there, and away you go. Then we started predicting all in Halloween that you're going to start seeing towards the holiday season, it's a good time to list. We were taking photos for clients of your exterior properties. Let's get ready for the, let's say, Christmas and New Year. Make sure your house is looking solid. So we went out to clients, we took photos of the properties, and then we had those in archives getting ready to list. And then what we were saying is going into Christmas, you'll start seeing an uptick. So don't be terrified to list during Christmas. It's actually a great time because the inventory is going to drop down. It's going to have this big scale. So let's talk what happened then. So last week we're at 16,739 units, 570 sold, 1,748 terminated, 3,761 expired, and 94 new contracts. But let's focus on the first, this how many sold properties and how much of the inventory. So this week here, we're at 15,421 units, so down 1,300 units. Again, lowest inventory we've seen in quite a while. And then what surprised me is the amount of sales. So we've been hovering the last many months now, like between 700 units of sales in 7 days. We had 1,306 sales. It's exactly what we predicted. They're going to have a scale. We're going to have a line down with inventory dropping down, and you're going to have this influx of buying. Exactly what happened. This is the highest amount of sales in quite a while, to be honest. It's almost like pandemic sales in 7 days, so which is great. But let's look at the terminated. We had 1,522 terminated, 4,863 expired, and only 76 new contracts that came to market. But again, this is exactly what we predicted. We're 7 days to Christmas right now, December 18th, and we had this lowest amount of inventory and the highest amount of sales. This is exactly what we were telling clients. Some listened, some didn't. Clearly, we'll see. What I predict too, again, is right after Christmas, just based on the behavior now, we're going to have a nice, good settling into the, let's say, end of the year. We'll start have a big uptick of sales even happening just after Christmas. Probably now we'll still see things going, because remember, not everybody celebrates, Christmas and stuff like that. Not everyone's Christian, so ultimately you'll still seeing sales right through, and I think New Year is going to be pretty much a drop. Like, I think it's going to go well. Obviously, we're going to have an inventory dump. We're going to have that spike up of inventory, which obviously gives buyers more choices, but we'll see. If there's a lot more buyers coming out of the woodworks in the new year, it might be able to settle things. Obviously, a lot of optimism with the a lot of reports talking about all the interest rates. Their interest rates are going to start dropping down. They're going to have better rates going into 2024. Obviously, we knew this federal election. It's an old thing we've been talking about for many years now, to be honest. So we'll see what happens. I know even on this side of the border in the U.S., same idea. A lot of optimism based on the federal election and all that, and obviously the rates are going to start coming down a little further, making it more affordable. The only difference is what I kind of like what they have the system here in America is I went to a real estate seminar last week, just kind of sat in with these. It was a representative from Fannie Mae. Obviously, this is, if you know Fannie Mae, look it up. This is where everyone gets their money, all the banks and stuff like that. This is basically America's financier of mortgages. And Again, you got to take everything with a grain of salt because everyone's obviously trying to push their own narrative. These are government run programs and stuff like that, or companies. So we always got to take everything with a grain of salt. But they're predicting that Chairman Powell is going to keep the status quo and not adjust the rates down, even if there's federal pressure from the current administration to kind of drop down the rates to make the economy look more robust. By the same time, as always happens, I don't think he's going to have a handle on that to kind of stop that. So I think they're going to drop it down. A lot of people are predicting 100 basis points, which is a 1%. So we'll see what happens. The only good thing about here in the U.S., because we bought a building lot last week, we firmed up, so that's good. We're going to get everything ready together with that. I would love to break ground. We'll see. Hopefully by like March would be great. I got a few things to kind of obviously settle up with that, and before we proceed with permits and all that, but we're ready to start hammering. But what we like here in the U.S. is basically the different system, because a lot of people that bought houses the last, let's say T minus 5 years. The last 5 years, people that bought houses, rates were great. Let's say 2 to 4%, something around that range. And here they lock in for 30 years. So you lock in a rate for 30 years at that rate, 2 to 4% for 30 years. You don't gotta break it. That's your rate. There's no penalty. Even if you were to break it, the penalty is very nominal, like $500. So what happens is a lot of people that are in these great rates and they're great homes, even if they want to move, they're not going to move. It just makes more sense to kind of stay in the house and to ultimately until pressures come down and inflation, and then ultimately rates come down so they can buy and sell and do their thing. So a lot of people are holding on to properties, which is actually shorting the inventory here in the U.S. Everyone's talking about this, but we noticed this also. So sellers are not selling. Then you have the baby boomers that are aging in place. So they're not selling. It doesn't make sense for them to sell their house. They stay in there. They retrofit it to make it more adjustable to them if they need it, if they have to put a chair or a chairlift or whatever it is, or they'll move on the main floor. So a lot of the elders are not selling. So there's age in place. Then you have people that have locked into a mortgage are not selling. And pretty much what's left is some resale obviously is coming to the market, people that need to sell, either financial issues or they need to upsize or downsize or moving states. So that's obviously a resale market. But what's happening is new construction here is taking off even further. And some of the largest builders here in America we're talking about were the first-time buyers, their number one buyer right now. And the only reason why is because they're buying down the rate. So what they'll do is they'll basically sell you a house, a community, an area, and then they'll give you an amazing rate to it. So even let's just say at up here it was like 6.5 to 6.7%, they can buy it down to like 5.2 or 5.8%, and then it's more attractive to first-time buyers and new product, and they're all buying into these new construction. So that gives us hope too that we're building, and we're going to follow a similar program where we're aligning with American brokers and banks and stuff like that we can provide, let's say, a lower rate to a buyer, so have our house really stand out. We'll have an amazing property, amazing location, and also an assumable mortgage where it makes more sense to buy our home versus the competition. So that's our goal here at Treviso Homes going forward. But that's pretty much it, guys. Have any questions, please reach out. We'll be back in Toronto next week. Actually excited to kind of get some rest days. We're going to be back at the office on actually this Friday rather. We'll be on Friday. We're doing our Christmas podcast, which is going to be fun. I think we're going to just let loose a bit. We're going to do some charity, pull out of the hat, and not charity, we'll pull out of the hat and give out gifts and stuff like that, and just for random clients. So obviously we're so grateful for the support back in Toronto. It's been a fantastic year for the team. Obviously your trust, me being out here in Florida, but also obviously it's instead of me going to Kleinberg in the morning, I go to Sterile, so it's the same phone is on, strategies there. It's just boots on the ground. Mikey's hammering that out for the team, which is great. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, please reach out, 647-962-4372.